What's up? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, and I'm very excited about my next guest who has been on a few times. From the BJ and Migs morning show on 99.9 KISW in Seattle, BJ Shea is on Hoppe Hour. What's up, dude?
Hey, Hoppe. Good to hear from you again, buddy. Good talking with you.
I was thinking about your show this afternoon while I was listening driving in, which I often listen to it, and you guys haven't really changed at all. Like, you guys are getting older, but I noticed that you guys haven't let your age change you.
Well, you know, if anything, people might say that I'm getting a little bit more mellow. I don't know if that's age. I don't know if that's therapy, but I'm definitely less angry and digging life a little bit more. I will say that.
How often do you go see your shrink? I see mine twice a month.
Yeah, for many years it was a once a week thing, and now I'm down to, I do like every other month I do a 3-hour sort of maxi, you know, sort of big session with her actually. And then there's some seminars that she offers, like retreats, and I just did one in the middle of the woods in Oregon for 5 days, and that was like a really immersive, intensive kind of thing. So that's what I kind of do every other month, 3 hours, and maybe a couple of those immersives, intensives a year, and that usually keeps me in decent shape. But I used to go weekly for many years, for at least a decade.
Now, you live in the weed capital of the West Coast. Do you partake in weed, or do you just see your friends smoke it?
Well, you know, it depends on my mood. I can't remember the last time I had any weed, but I have a guy that's got a vaporizer, a buddy of mine, and I really like that delivery system. Also, you know, there's edibles, so rather than smoke it, I do like to eat it more so, especially if it's in those dankies. Have you ever heard of those, Hoppe, those Twinkies that are basically marijuana infused? And, well, those are two of my favorite things, weed and Twinkies, all in one package. You can't beat that.
What do you do when you're partaking in, let's say, edibles? Because allegedly, because we work here in Florida, so things are different. Allegedly, if you were to have a edible, it makes you sink in the couch and watch TV. Are you a guy, when you eat an edible, are you active, or do you just kind of sink in the couch?
I tend to like to have really cool sort of stoner conversations. That's my bag. So I like to do it within a group where, you know, we're all just chilling, and then next thing you know, you get this stream of consciousness brain conversation, and that's the kind of thing I dig. And depending upon how much I have, I mean, I had a buddy of mine gave me some on a plane, and I had, you know, and at this time, this is early in the game, and now, of course, you know, you can buy edibles and get them in different strains, especially here in Washington State, so you can make sure that you don't overdo. And he gave me too much, and I was tripping on the plane, and oh man, I was paranoid, surrounded. It was a beating.
What do you think of flying? I don't like the process of going through the security, and I have no room because I'm 6'8", so even room with more space, it's not enough for me. So I'm not a fan of flying whatsoever. Now, like when you fly to the morning show boot camp or whatever, do you like flying or do you dread it?
Well, I've got to like flying because my wife lives in a separate state than me, so if I want to go see her, I got to fly. But luckily, I fly on Alaska, and I'm a frequent flyer enough that they will give you some good upgrades. And either A, I'll get their sort of business class, or sometimes B, they'll just kick me up to first class. Now, I don't have your issues, Hoppe. I'm not as tall as you, so it doesn't bother me as much. I also did that TSA, pass thing where you get to basically go and the TSA line, and that makes it a lot better. And in our airport, they got these new clear lines where I haven't bought those, but nobody's ever in them. So I feel like if I really was stuck in lines a lot, I think I could do that clear, man. That seems to be the way to go. And that makes it a lot easier. And, you know, I mean, because I fly so much, they let me go to the front of the line getting on the plane, and I usually just bring a carry-on. So for me, it's not so bad. Flying, but I don't got your problems. I'm not as tall as you, so that would be a beating.
Now, you're one of the shows that has survived over the last decade, replacing the king of all media. How do you think you did it?
Well, boy, you know, I'll tell you, Hoppe, we really got a good team. You know, the whole company's got good strategists, and we got good people that work on the show. So, you know, we're just all on the same page. There's not a lot of ego, not a lot of fighting. We got smart guys that work for our company, and we listen to them. what I think helped us a lot is that instead of, being mean to Howard when he left, we were just like, we were very kind about it. I mean, it's obvious that Howard's done a great job in the business. He's the best probably that's ever come along. And so we knew our listeners that, when Howard left and we took over, we knew those listeners would be upset. So we just basically took calls and said, hey, man, how do you feel? Let's let's do an homage to Howard. We did that the first couple of days when we were on the air. And I think that friendly approach really worked well here in Seattle. And so that made it easier for folks. Like, they knew that we didn't replace Howard. They knew that Howard just left, which is a big difference as opposed to maybe if we just basically booted Howard off the station. So that friendly approach and the fact that he chose to leave, I think, was a big help for us.
What has it been like over the last 20 years living in Washington?
I'll tell you, man, having bounced around the country, trying to find a place that seemed to fit with me and me with it. I'm originally from Boston, and I was never aggro enough to really, I think, appeal to Bostonian radio people. And so I thought, man, I don't know if this business is for me. And then I went down south. I was in Jacksonville, Florida for a while, and that didn't seem to fit well for me. And I went to Phoenix, Arizona, and that wasn't a good fit. San Francisco, that wasn't a good fit. And then I hit Seattle, and they're really a geeky place, more so than any other place in the country, and I'm a geeky guy, so it was like, whoa, I might have found my nirvana here, and I think that's it. People here, just the geek culture is huge in the Pacific Northwest. Also, like you said, the weed culture. So people they're chill, they're intelligent, and they really don't like to get into a lot of confrontation. They just want to get along with people. So that was kind of like who I was, and so I was lucky I found this place. And 20 years later, we're still making it happen. So I think I found my place.
Now, what are some of the underrated parts about there? You hear about camping, and you hear about the weed or the coffee. What are some of the underrated parts about Seattle?
Well, it's a big city, so and so anything you want, like all the major shows, concerts, events, come here. You'll get celebrities coming here because of the big city. It's also close to Vancouver, British Columbia, which is a really great international city across the border. If you like the weirdness of Portland, we're not that far from there. And then we're a plane trip to California, where if there's any kind of the California lifestyle, whether it be Northern California, Southern California. So Seattle's really close to a lot of stuff. And then if you love the beauty of Alaska, you could take a cruise ship out of there. We're surrounded by water, whether it be by lakes or the oceans in certain places. So there's a lot of beauty there. And we do get our rain, but 3 months out of the year, we don't get rain, and it's super sunny, super green because of all the growth we have from the rain. So it's a beautiful place, and super outdoorsy. I mean, Hoppe, you can ride your bike, very bike-friendly city, lots of hiking trails, lots of gorgeous places to go to that are off the grid. We have 2 national parks that we're close to, and that's Olympia and Rainier National Park. So so whether you love tech, whether you love doing stuff, whether you love the cosmopolitan life, whether you love nature, there's a lot going on up here, which is why it's gotten really expensive to live up here. I mean, everybody's coming up here, and now the housing costs are insane, but I can see why. It's pretty gorgeous.
I've heard from a lot of people.
Food's pretty good too, man.
Dude, what are some of the best food spots?
Well, we've got our Asian cuisine is pretty much what I'd say is spot on. I mean, I don't know if you can find any better Thai or Korean or Vietnamese food anywhere, Chinese. We've got a great Asian culture. As a matter of fact, they're our number one minority population. So if you want great Asian food, oh man, you trip and you fall in the place. There's other great food too, but the Asian food is really, what the deal is with the, our cuisine. But there's a lot of great cuisine around here, lots of great steakhouses and pretty much anything you want as far as natural food, and they're big on sustainable food too. So there's some good stuff. There's definitely some good stuff you can find around here.
So as I was growing up, I was really into rap music. Just growing up, I was into like 90s rap, maybe up to 2014. And the last 4 years, I've just kind of found myself listening to the same music. So the last maybe 3 weeks, I began listening to grunge rock, like let's say all the bands that are from your town. And dude, you guys have produced some of the best music I've ever heard to come out of Seattle.
Yeah, it was a very collaborative time. I think what a lot of folks may not know is unless you're really deep into it, and people who are deep into it already know. But the scene here was so collaborative, cooperative. The idea of Temple of the Dog, where you had Chris Cornell, Eddie Vedder, and all those guys just getting together, and that was really what it is. And Seattle has that vibe. Where there's still a vibrant local music scene. Being on our station, we really get to interact with a lot of them. We have a local show that we do every Sunday night, 2 hours of just all local music, and we're very interactive with the bands. On the station, we do a thing called Live Day, where we bring in a lot of bands, and all of the shows are live. Our show and our afternoon show, the men's room, are live, and all the music is performed live. So we usually go to a casino or somewhere and just do the whole shows from there. All of the sound effects are live, done by these Foley artists. The commercials are read live. We fly in the guy that does the big boy voice for our station. So everything is live. We'll get some local and some national celebrities to come down and read commercials for us. And in the music scene, because it's so good, these guys get to come in and perform, some of the bands that we play, as well as some of their own local music. And our station's really, really involved with it. And it doesn't hurt that, we've got some of the guys that live there, like a lot of the dudes from Pearl Jam still live there, and Alice in Chains. So they'll come on and pop in and just talk about stuff, maybe do some acoustic stuff. So there's just that great vibe that's still here from when, the Seattle sound grunge was new.
Is there pressure during Live Day? I've been wanting to ask you this for a few years now. When you guys are doing Live Day, do you guys ever feel like everything needs to be perfect, or is it okay if there's a little mess up?
Well, that's the funny thing. I think that our boss, Dave Richards, our boss, Dave, and our other boss, Ryan, actually, we got two good guys that work for the company. And I think Dave and Ryan would love it if there are screw-ups, because that's what Live Day is about. You just never, the idea is you just don't know what could go wrong. And that's the beauty of live radio. You don't get do-overs. And we had one band that was awesome, man. They forgot to start whatever they were supposed to start, and immediately an F-bomb flew. And we were like, we were digging it, because it's like, that's Live Day. And for a performer like myself, I love that, just, that on edge, what could happen kind of thing. I never like to know what we're going to talk about. I like people to surprise me with stuff. It's such a, it just gives me such a rush. So to be able to do that, with nothing to fall back on but just us, which is really, really fun. So the screw-ups to me are what make great radio anyway, just because of what we're going to do, what we're going to make of this. Maybe we can get a joke out of it anyway. And Live Day just exemplifies that and really exaggerates that. So it's funny. I do not get nervous. I actually dig it and think it's a lot of fun. Plus, we do it in front of a lot of listeners, and doing a live show in front of a live crowd, people that want to get up that early in the morning and, schlep on out to a casino that might be 30 minutes away from where they live or longer. That's a lot of fun, man. I dig that kind of radio.
Now, back in your edgier days, did you ever get fined?
I never got fined by the FCC in the edgier days. As far as I know, if the station got fined, they never told me. I got suspended a lot by the radio station. Got in trouble a lot. That's for sure. That happened a lot. It's funny how, man, 20 years ago, Hoppe, it was insane. You had Howard Stern and Tom Leykis, Opie and Anthony, and many, many shows like that across the country, including the show that we did, that were just, we were right on the edge. And nobody had a problem with that. And then, of course, Janet Jackson came along with the whole thing. And since then, the world has changed to the point where, man, there's not a lot of tolerance for that at all. Nobody's got a sense of humor about it. And so that's a big change from when I started in Seattle 20 years ago.
Where do you see your show going? I know you guys just got a new deal and things are going great with the ratings. Where do you see your show within like 5 to 10 years?
Well, the thing I love about our show is we got people from all ages on the show. And so, depending upon who's listening, there's somebody on the show they can relate to. So I love the idea that our show is like a table you can all just sit around, or a bar everybody can just sort of pull up a seat and hang out in, no matter how old you are, no matter what you do. I love that. It's a very inclusive style of radio. We've got, my daughter, my son, we've got Vicky, we've got, dudes that are, in their, just young 20s, 30s, 40s, and I'm in my 50s, getting close to my 60s, actually. So this is going to be a show for everybody. But we talk about stuff that everybody can relate to. And more so really talking about more stuff that relates to a younger person than myself, but I give my take from where I'm at in life. as opposed to talking about stuff that maybe a younger person wouldn't care about. That's the idea. If our show continues to talk about the things and have a vibe of our target audience, no matter how old anybody is, as long as we continue to talk about the things that they care about and do it with respect and fun, I feel like we can go on for the longest time. And that seems to be where it is. Hoppe, the world's a tough place right now. We're all over the place, especially in this country. It's like nobody can have an opinion about anything without somebody else getting really angry and mad. So our show is sort of like an oasis from that. We just want, because we have listeners that from all over the place, just from all people with different philosophies and different mindsets, and they're all listening, which makes me happy. It's like, we can have somebody who's super conservative and somebody who's super liberal both listening to our show, and we want them to feel comfortable at our table. Like, I just feel like that's the way to be now, as opposed to, what we're seeing in this country. I feel like we can all get along. It's just a matter of, okay, let's just chill and have a little bit of fun. We can figure it out.
Yeah, it is a weird thing. That's what I like about your show, is that you guys never talk about what's going on with Trump or whatever. Like, I never talk about it on my show, and it's weird. Like, the past 5 years, there's a lot of radio guys that are really talented that never talked about that, and now all of a sudden they are the authority on Trump. And I just find it sad that, like, because he's in office, people that are very funny feel like they have to rely on that.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we've got a filter, and it's not my call as far as what I choose to talk, or I should say the tone of the show, because I trust guys like Dave Richards, our program director. I trust guys like Ryan Castle, our operations manager, and Dave is now actually vice president of the program for the company. So between Dave and Ryan and Steve, who, of course, Steve Migs, I trust those three guys to say to me, here's where the tone of the show needs to be. Here's what we need to be talking about. And I can talk about anything. So if somebody said to me tomorrow, you got to start talking about Trump, like, all right, if you want me to, I will. But that's just not what they want to do. And the reason is that, at least to our show, I mean, we have a lot of people on both sides of the issue. There are a lot of people that are big Trump supporters that listen to our show. There are a lot of people that aren't Trump supporters. And what I found is, even if somebody, it's funny with our audience, with dudes, like, you can have a conversation with a dude and he'll go, yeah, you know what, I'm a Trump supporter, but you know what, I don't want to fight about it. And then on the other side of it, you can go, another dude can go, yeah, you know what, I'm not a fan of Trump, but you know what, I don't want to fight about it. And so those are the folks we know that are listening to our show, where, they did what they do. They vote how they want to vote, but they don't want to fight. They're like, look, I got my reasons. I still can appreciate somebody who doesn't agree with me, so I don't want to fight. And I don't know if that's just the Pacific Northwest, or if that's maybe just if somebody would set that tone. I mean, that's the tone we set. We're like, look, guys, we're not here to fight. We're here to have fun. We're in this together, man. It's like, at the end of the day, I mean, most of the people in this country are not part of the 1%. Most of the people in this country will never live the life that any politician gets to live, and the pomp, the circumstance, the glamour, no matter which side of the aisle they're on. The average schmo and the average Joe, they never get to see any of that, no matter, who's in the White House. So I feel like all of us should just stick together, and I'm not going to let any politician on any side of the aisle tell me I got to start fighting my fellow brother and my fellow sister, because you know what? They're laughing all the way to the bank, and I'm sitting there going, I'm fighting some guy who's making, who's trying to make his way in the world just like I am. So it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. And so far that seems to be working for us, Hoppe, especially now where people are turning to us as a relief. They go, look, we can get this everywhere, Facebook and Twitter and CNN and Fox News. They can get this anywhere. They come to us so that they don't have to hear it. And I feel good about that, we're that kind of show.
Now, what was it like when you added your kids to the show? Did it change the vibes, or was everything the same?
I think what it changed is it showed a changing of the guard. It's funny, when we changed the name to BJ and Migs. It was something that Steve wanted to do anyway, but I decided he just wanted to change his name. He didn't like being Steve the producer anymore. He felt like he outgrew that name, and he felt like, he was a big part of the show, which he was. And so when we changed the name to BJ and Migs, which I felt like was also time, it really sort of said, look, Steve is as big of a person on the show as I am. As I was getting older, I really felt like there was a lot of dudes that related to Steve, and I just thought, you know what, Steve, you probably have just as many guys liking you on the show, if not more than me. And with that, when the kids came on board, it gave this sort of great dynamic for, Steve to go out there and troll the hell out of me. And which is good, because I think the dynamic is anybody who gets to my age thinks they know everything. And you know how that is, Hoppy. Everybody in their 50s and 60s, every gray-haired father figure, grandfather figure, whatever, they think they know everything and that the young people don't know anything. So the idea of the show is I think that, and I think that I know what I'm talking about. I think I'm in power, but in reality, everybody in the show is laughing at me, and I got no power at all. And Steve bringing the kids in illustrates what an idiot of a parent I am and how out of touch I am even with my own children. And that dynamic is really, really fun.
Now, where can people find your show and find your work?
Well, radio.com is, I think, the new place they want everybody to go. If you search for KISW on radio.com, or search BJ and Migs, or search BJ Shea, you'll find we've got geeky podcasts. We've got all sorts of podcasts. Steve's got wrestling podcasts. I mean, gosh, there's a million of them. And also, if you can't catch the show live, we've got some on-demand programming as well where you can get our daily show. But we're live 6 a.m., or actually 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific time. And radio.com is where you can get us anywhere pretty much. And you find everything we're doing on there. Yeah, appreciate it, Hoppy. Thanks for having me, man. You take care.
Awesome. Thank you, bro.
Peace.
All right, peace out, bro.
Hoppe Hour. Hoppe Hour.